Heimerdinger Jungle, a pick with crazy burst damage, the ability to solo Baron at 20 minutes, and even able to 1v1 and beat the meta junglers. Meet Jungledinger, our player who hit Master with this crazy new off-meta jungle path and carry playstyle. This is a crazy pick that's super immobile, and yet this Master player doesn't even take flash. You think he'd be vulnerable to getting invaded, but he's actually the one invading enemies and bursting them with a super fast kill combo. And this is the only off-meta player I've ever talked to that has a guide on how to use emotes to tilt enemies. Let me teach you his secrets. But first, let me tell you how you can earn some free League of Legends skins, because this pick is way better if you just have some dragons. This is Buff, the sponsor of this video. Buff is a League of Legends stat tracker app that's part of Overwolf and has over 5 million users. But the reason you should download it is because it runs in the background on your PC, tracking your in-game stats and achievements to give you points. You can then use these points to redeem RP gift cards to buy skins, game keys, or even gaming hardware. And Buff also just got a new update. It now automatically records your in-game highlights while you play, so if you get a crazy clip, it'll make sure that moment is saved and ready for you to share. And to answer a question I get a lot about Buff, yes, it's safe to use, I've been using it for a full year now, and so have many of the people in our off-meta Discord. And no, it doesn't mine cryptocurrency. It uses at most 0.1% of my GPU and about 1% of my CPU, which would be quite literally impossible if it was mining something. They make money from playing ads, and we're the ones who get rewarded. So make sure you download Buff for free using the link in the description below. Back to Jungledinger. He's actually an off-meta player we've covered before, back when he shot up from low diamond to Master, Grandmaster, and then even Challenger in a single month after discovering Heimerdinger support. This free LP pick was a huge surprise to him as well as to all of us. So after he hit Challenger, he decided to make a new account and try out Heimerdinger Jungle to see if he could replicate the crazy fast climb in a new, strange role with new tricks to learn and a whole lot more gold to spend on buying damage. He made a new account in Silver and began to test the pick. Immediately he started destroying meta junglers. This pick was nothing like any other jungler in the game, using turrets by themselves as his main way of clearing camps, letting him do some very weird tricks to clear the jungle, but he still had to find a way to turn this slow mage pick into a ganker. When his games went well, the enemy jungler would get made fun of, and his team would call Jungledinger diff in chat. But when his games went badly, such as the 55 times he counted that his teammates banned his pick in Champion Select, he had to dodge and just queue up again. After a lot of practice and a new summoner spell setup, as well as a new jungle build and some very powerful new ways to do objectives, Jungledinger hit Master tier just a few months after starting this challenge, and is making his way up to Grandmaster as we speak. Right from level 1, this pick is unrecognizable as a jungler. He's not doing a simple clear where he just auto-attacks camps. Instead, taking Q, the turret, he runs to blue buff and places 2 turrets down right here against the wall, then runs to red to get a ward down to protect him against invades, basing, buying sweeper, and returning to blue to place a 3rd tower in the exact same spot. Blue spawns, and Heimerdinger honestly doesn't even need a leash. He auto-attacks it, kiting it into his towers, letting them be the DPS for his clear. He wants to make sure he's the one tanking all of the damage, as he's just a health bar at this point in the game. His towers are the real champion, and he needs to protect them because they die in just 2 hits. Moving to Gromp, Heimerdinger does the same, also taking the stun for damage and to help him kite. When the camp gets low, he can always leave early, letting the turrets finish off the camp by themselves, and saving him some time. Onto Wolves, he places 2 more turrets down and uses his stun for AoE damage, again tanking the damage and quickly moving away just before they die. Onto red side and a new turret spot, right outside this bush next to the wall. Heimer can use this spot to kill red buff, and then raptors as well, with the turrets taking 0 damage, and Heimer smiting red buff for the extra health. If the enemy jungler is pathing away from you, then Heimer can do the hardest camp in the game, Scuttle Crab, putting a turret down and using stun to remove the shield, then trying his hardest to stop the crab from running away, directing it towards his turret, and then quickly onto golems, giving him level 4, as fast as most other junglers. There is a forbidden fast clear version of this that involves using a very difficult turret spot and some frame perfect kiting, moving blue, Gromp, and wolves all to this turret setup for maximum DPS and the quickest clear possible. After this clear, Heimerdinger's game starts, instantly basing for some early AP and running back onto the map to start ganking. Ganking on Heimerdinger makes no sense. Classically, Heimerdinger is the kind of champion who's incredibly good at controlling one area and preventing enemies from going into it. So when you're ganking him, he's terrifying, but when he is the one ganking, his turrets can't move, and they're the majority of his damage. So Jungledinger had to find a solution. His solution to this is taking Exhaust. Yes, that's right, one of the most immobile picks in the whole game is giving up flash, taking Exhaust Smite. The reason for Exhaust is of course as a CC tool, so that Heimerdinger can walk into a lane and begin the gank with Exhaust, slowing them and likely forcing their flash. The slow really makes it so much easier to land Heimerdinger's most important ability, his E stun. The E has a very small stun area, and landing this on moving high elo players is very difficult, so Exhaust slows them down enough to make it less of a coin flip. And while the E stun is travelling through the air, Heimerdinger places down a turret, so that when the stun lands, the turret shoots the extra large laser, which is very good for bursting people down. Getting kills in ganks is all about this stun into turret combo, finishing enemies off with rockets. If you can land all of the rockets while they're stunned, then the big laser will fire again for even more burst. And don't forget, Heimerdinger gets bonus movement speed when he's near his turrets, so he can place one down and use that speed to chase enemies even easier. Exhaust is also the perfect solution to getting invaded, as Heimer can use it to win any 1v1 against any jungler. Invades would be the main weakness of this build, but with Exhaust, Heimer becomes much harder to kill, and this buys him time to place turrets, land a stun and some rockets to turn the fight around in his favour, also having Red Smite for another 10% damage reduction, so in total enemies will have 45% damage reduction and be slowed so he can hit abilities. This means they practically have to do double his health bar in damage to even kill him, which no jungler can really do this early in the game. Since he's so good at denying areas of the map, he's also an excellent counterganker, waiting in lane for the enemy jungler to overextend, immediately popping out of a bush to punish them with a big burst of damage. Then, starting at level 4, Heimerdinger can also solo any dragon. He places one turret down, letting it take a couple of hits, then placing another one slightly closer so that it can tank instead, keeping each turret alive by taking aggro himself at the end, so that the turret can do maximum DPS, and the damage is spread as efficiently as possible. This lets him start stacking dragons very early on, and the enemy jungler will never expect a Heimerdinger to be doing this. There's one exception: Hextech Dragon is a bit harder to kill as it kills all of your turrets at the same time, so you can always get someone to help, or wait until level 6, where you can use your ultimate turret for even more damage. Level 6 is incredibly good for Heimerdinger, thanks to this ultimate turret being super strong in early fights. Look at how much damage it does in this early skirmish, bursting an enemy completely to death, and then staying in the fight for even longer. Heimerdinger can just run to safety while his turret acts like a free AD carry, autoing enemies for as long as they keep fighting. The hardest part of the game is over. He survived early game and got his team a good start. Now it's all about Heimerdinger. He keeps farming, stacking up gold, and runs to Rift Herald as soon as possible. Now is the time where Heimerdinger can buy a huge amount of damage and start carrying the game. Rift is a very easy objective to solo for any champion, using turrets and kiting it around, then taking Rift to a low health tower to get 3 plates and finish it off for first turret gold. And then he spends 6 minutes farming, fighting and killing dragon, going straight back to the second Rift Herald. Unlike most junglers, he thinks this objective is super important as it lets him go into a side lane so he can use it on a tier 2 tower, which opens up the map and gives him 600 free gold. This amount is literally the same as getting 2 kills in a fight, so it is quite valuable. Heimer picks up his first item, Leandries, an item that has perfect synergy with his turrets, causing burn damage every time they hit. And this is where Heimerdinger Jungle becomes overpowered. At 20 minutes, Jungledinger is already sitting at Baron waiting, the objective that people are supposed to kill as a team and end the game with. He just runs to it and solos it at 20 minutes. The reason this works is because of his ultimate turret, placing it down in the center along with 3 mini turrets alongside it, and together they pump out an insane amount of damage. The main turret can tank 5 hits, and by that point the Baron's already almost at half health, so Heimer moves forward to tank himself, letting the small turrets do all of the work. The Leandries is vital for this, and so is Rabadon's second item, going for a big mid-game spike in AP. This is a game-winning play that Heimerdinger can do every game, whether it's by himself or with just one teammate to help him. That makes it even easier. It means that any fight you win at 20 minutes is a free Baron. Any pick you get after 20 minutes, that's another free Baron. His record for the quickest Baron kill is 7 seconds after it spawns. Baron is Heimerdinger's speciality, instantly giving his team 1,500 gold, a big bump in XP, and likely just winning the game right there, thanks to the buff. Suddenly, Heimerdinger Jungle seems quite good, but this is where his strongest strategy starts. Invading. It's as simple as walking into the enemy jungle, sitting in a bush and stacking turrets, waiting for your prey. When enemies walk towards you, it's very easy to land a stun out of the bush into an ultimate W for the huge rocket burst damage. This combo also makes your turret shoot 2 big lasers, and it'll let you kill any squishy enemy while they're stunned. Walking out of the bush, Heimerdinger spams his mastery emote, as well as any other emote he can to make fun of the enemy. enemy. His aim is to tilt them as much as he can. They're already losing to a Heimerdinger Jungle, a pick that's very confusing to enemies, so these emotes can make them even more annoyed and lower their chances of trying to come back. And he actually credits these mind games as part of his success. Teamfights are also very strange for Heimerdinger Jungle because he has no flash. This means he must get to the teamfight or objective as early as possible to give him time to set up turrets and gain control of the area. If you get there first, you control the bushes, and can even look to burst someone down before the fight even starts, either getting a free kill or at least stopping them from being able to help in the fight. Since he has no flash, he must play it in a way that means he doesn't need it. That means he can't make any super aggressive plays, and is much more reliant on sticking with his teammates and using exhaust to protect all of them. If an enemy dives in, instantly he exhausts them, peeling for his teammates and for himself, letting them all focus the diver down for a kill. Of course, also using Red Smite for even more damage reduction, and placing his ultimate turret down for DPS. You really shouldn't dive this pick. Don't forget to always make sure you auto-attack the target you want your turret to hit, as that's how you control it. If you don't get the auto-attacks off, then it's a straight up coin flip, relying on Riot's AI to figure out who to hit. And nobody wants to rely on Riot's coding, that's for sure. The rule for using ult in fights is to use Q if enemies are diving you, W if you're diving an enemy, and E for every other situation, because the huge AoE stun is just generally very good, and can even stun through spell shields if you place the projectiles close enough together. Late game, Heimer has so much AP and burst, he can be a big carry for his team, but he doesn't need to put himself in any danger to do damage, thanks to the turrets and his long range, meaning he's a great late game fighter. But to give this pick a rating, let's talk about the problems with it. Yes, his damage is unreasonably high in late game, but in early game, especially starting with the jungle item, as well as exhaust, he's a very low damage champion. His early ganks suck, it's that simple. You can find ways to make them work, but they're never really good. Luckily, he does have the safety and power to get through this weakness, but his immobility is a constant issue throughout the game that no summoner spell or items can fix. In exchange for this immobility, he gets to be one of the highest DPS mages in the game after he gets a couple of items. And in this slow meta that's all about killing dragons and ganking bot lane, Heimerdinger is honestly a great pick if you can put in the time to learn it. By the way, before we show the build, if you love seeing these off-meta picks, then why not check out my second channel, where I'm uploading lots more off-meta reviews of high elo players. I'd recommend checking out the Zed supports video. For his full Heimerdinger Jungle build, you already know the start, so I'll give you the rest. Getting Sork Shoes for the magic pen, Dark Seal early on to help him snowball, an early Void Staff if enemies have 2 people that are stacking magic resist, as you need it so you can stay relevant in damage, Medjai's if the game started off well and you plan to 1v9 carry, Morello's for anti-heal, or Zhonya's if you need the safety later on. Make sure you don't buy this early as you won't have enough damage to be a big carry. His permaban every game is Kayn, since Blue Kayn will just one-shot you whatever you try and do, and the champion's very hard for Heimerdinger to hit with his skills, since he's so mobile. Heimer maxes W first in the jungle as it's his highest damage ability for early fights, as well as ganks. His runes are all about getting free gold and maximum damage, just as you'd expect from his playstyle. Make sure you have attack speed in the stats, as this helps your jungle clear be even faster. Jungledinger streams a ton of Heimerdinger on his Twitch channel, link to that is below, as well as our second channel. And don't forget to check out Buff using the link in the description. Just a couple of clicks to download it, it's very easy, and then it takes no effort to just leave it open in the background to earn points, which you can use to buy RP, which you can use to get free league skins, or you can even spend the points on other games. Thanks so much for watching.